Now, since I've been doing board game videos, they've pretty much all revolved around trying to get the better of your friends, if not outright screwing them over. Not so today, however, as it's time for some jolly cooperation. Eldritch Horror, the 29th best game of all time if the Board Game Geek rankings are to be believed, sees you and your friends working together to battle Lovecraftian evil in the 1920s. Up to 8 players, well, you won't be playing with 8 players because owning 8 chairs in the UK is actually illegal. Anyway, up to 8 players will cooperate fighting monsters, going on daring expeditions, and trying to gather clues to solve mysteries. At the start of every Eldritch Horror game, you're going to choose a great old one to pit your wits against, an ancient, noble cosmic terror like Azathoth the Idiot God, or Cthulhu the Big Fella, or Nigel Farage. Just like in real life, to prevent a great old one, you and your friends will have to solve 3 mysteries between you. And you need to do this before the Doom tracker reaches 0. Doom is bad, and depending on the great old one, could either result in the game just ending immediately, or Nigel rising from the depths for a final climactic battle. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Eldritch Horror is quite complex, looking at the ludicrous amount of components and table space that it takes up, but it's actually deceptively simple. On your turn you can take 2 actions, and they range from being able to move, buy something to aid your cause, or just having a nice rest to recover health and sanity. Each of the unique characters also gets a special ability, be that the psychic investigator, the deranged astronomer, or the badass adventurer. And then once you've taken your 2 actions, in the next phase you draw an encounter card that's relevant to your location on the board. And that's when Eldritch Horror starts to get interesting. If you're playing it theatrically, for that read properly, your friend will read you your card and vice versa. And each card has like a nice bit of flavour text and provides you with a bit of story. And also a challenge that you may have to complete in order to progress. And when this works, when it knits, it's great. You may get stopped by the police in Buenos Aires and questioned as to why you're carrying a shitload of firearms and explosives, or your ship may get boarded by horrific creatures as you race across the Atlantic to chase a lead in West Africa. And this is the meat of Eldritch Horror, traversing the globe, gathering allies, equipment and weapons, trying to frantically close gates that are spaffing monsters all over the place, and trying to solve mysteries that will win you the game. But it's not all fedoras and Tommy guns in Eldritch Horror. When things go bad, things go 10 on the Richter scale, fucked up beyond all recognition bad. This symbol here on many of the condition cards you'll receive, on many persistent event cards or on the monsters, is the reckoning symbol. And if this reckoning symbol is triggered at the end of the turn, the bad, horrible consequences of the reckoning happen. All of them at the same time. Monsters use their special abilities, the psychological trauma you've accrued exacerbates, previous deals come back to haunt you. And that's great because the tension is permanently ramped up because you're dreading that reckoning symbol appearing and ruining your plans. And working out between you who's going to be fighting monsters, closing gates, going on expeditions, actually working on solving the mysteries to win you the game is a fiendish puzzle that you solve collectively. It's like spinning a dozen plates in a building that's on fire whilst tentacle-faced spider bastards from space are trying to eat your legs. Brilliant. Eldritch Horror isn't without its problems though. After a couple of playthroughs, these thin decks of event cards start to repeat, and the game certainly loses that air of mystery as you start to know what to expect. However, with it being a Fantasy Flight game, there are approximately 4 million expansions that provide new locations, new cards, new ancient ones, and monsters, etc. to beef up the game. And that's not all. The narrative element, which is actually this game's greatest strength, is also kind of its greatest weakness, because sometimes it just completely falls apart. The card I mentioned earlier about creatures boarding the ship, that causes your character to be delayed. Now if you've got the pocket watch, that prevents your character from being delayed. So you've got this weird situation in your head where, because you're carrying a pocket watch, you prevented your ship from being boarded by deep ones. Now does that mean they're like late for bed or something? I don't know, it just doesn't work. Regularly, every game we've played, something that's happened and just everyone around the table has just gone, what? And then we come to this, which is the worst card in any game ever. I'm just going to read the text out to you. It's called All for Nothing. Event: shuffle a solved mystery back into the deck unless the investigators as a group spend clues equal to half the number of players. So this effectively unsolves one of the mysteries, or has the potential to. We've only ever played with this once, and that was in the first game, and it added 90 minutes to the playtime. That's just bollocks. So I recommend that you play without this card. It's called All for Nothing. If you're going to play Eldritch Horror, take it out of the Mythos deck. Adding 90 minutes to a game for no reason is not fun at all. Actually, in fact, I'm gonna kill the fucker. So there we go. Despite its flaws, Eldritch Horror is a worthy addition to your board game collection. Wait, stop the video. Who are you? I'm you, Chris. I'm from the future. The future, really? Do you have jetpacks? No. Flying cars? No. Where I'll find the future you're from then? Wednesday. That's shit. There's more time travel than you've done. I'm you, dickhead. You can't get one over on me. Right, shut up for once and listen. You don't like Eldritch Horror anymore. I brought you something. Get your mates round and try it out. Dead of Winter is another narrative-driven co-op horror game. You and your friends will take control of a faction of survivors holed up in a colony, and you'll be working together to solve a particular scenario, as well as gathering enough food and supplies to eke out your survival and tackle a crisis every turn. You'll be sending your survivors off to the grocery store to scavenge for food, or the hospital to collect medicine, or you may find other survivors hiding in the police station. And you want to do all these things relatively quickly because you only have a limited number of turns to get everything done. If you run out of time, you lose, and similar to Eldritch Horror, there's also a morale tracker. If that reaches 0, you lose as well, and your morale will be depleted by the inevitable deaths of your fellow survivors and certain random events. Like any good co-op game, Dead of Winter is hard as balls. Even walking to the shops is potentially fatal. Every time you move from one location to another, you have to roll for exposure using this dice, and you can end up being injured, you can end up with frostbite, or you could end up with a zombie bite if you roll a tooth, which kills one of your characters instantly, and then there's a chance that it'll spread to any other characters in the area, which could lead to a catastrophic zombie bite chain reaction. Yay! But you're going to have to leave the comfort and relative safety of the colony if you're going to hope to survive. You'll be digging through the decks frantically looking for weapons and food and medicine, or fuel, which actually prevents you from rolling for exposure. But like everything else in this game, fuel is a scarce resource, and you're going to have to hoard things for yourself, even to the detriment of the players around the table. And that's where Dead of Winter really shines. Each player is given a secret objective for their group of characters, and one of the people around the table, might even be you, may be a betrayer. And their objective is for the colony's morale to hit 0. Their objective is to complete a selfish goal and shaft everybody else. And that little bit of paranoia builds and becomes more palpable as each turn progresses. And adding to the smoke and mirrors is that every other character has a secret objective that is just as selfish as well. You may have to stockpile weapons or medicine when the colony as a whole needs them more. And that will shine suspicion on every player as you play the game. And that just heightens the paranoia, it heightens the tension so much that the zombies really just become incidental. Popular culture and fiction is completely saturated with zombies. They're overdone and regularly done badly. Good zombie fiction does not focus on the shambling corpses, but on the good characters. And with this betray mechanic, Dead of Winter absolutely nails this. The zombies and the winter additions are merely a hazardous backdrop, allowing you and your friends to take centre stage, which is exactly what a board game should do. Throughout Dead of Winter, all of your equipment cards and supplies are kept secret. So that puts the emphasis on negotiation, it puts the emphasis on trust. And if you're playing with the betray mechanic, it also helps to eliminate quarterbacking, which is like an alpha player telling everybody around the table what to do in a co-op game. Because you're not going to want to attract too much attention to yourself. You don't want any more suspicion on you than you may have already. And if you rub people up the wrong way too much, they can always vote to exile you from the group, and then you go off and play your own weird little game on your own. I could get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanics, but what really makes Dead of Winter stand out is that you and your friends are thrust into an extreme situation with a seed of doubt planted in your heads, and from that grows a fantastic story that you are all a part of. And I say this without so much of a hint of hyperbole, that Dead of Winter, from a narrative standpoint, is one of the best games, either digitally or analog, that I've played ever. A significant chunk of that praise comes mainly from this, the Crossroads deck. On your turn, another player will draw one of these cards, and on it will be a trigger. If one of your actions activates this card, something will happen. A narrative-focused event that may involve one of the specific characters in the game, or a particular location, or provide the group with a dilemma. I mean, I want to read these out loud to you, but most of the fun is the surprise that the events in here have in store for you. And it beats Eldritch Horror on this too, because look at the size of this deck, it's massive! And they don't trigger every turn, so they feel more special every time that they do so. So there we go, two very good cooperative games, and I recommend both of them. But if there's only room in your collection for one, then definitely get Dead of Winter. Is vastly superior. You have more options when running your game, more scenarios, more characters. The narrative system works better, the mechanics are more enjoyable, there's less randomness, even though one of your characters can die on the roll of a dice. It is a little bit more complex for people who are new to the hobby, but if you are remotely interested in board gaming at all, you need this in your collection. And even if you're just remotely interested in horror, zombies and that kind of thing, you do well to pick this one up and have a lovely evening distrusting your friends. If you've enjoyed this video, please do click on that share button. Don't let Dice Hard be your little secret. If you would like to support my channel and help to make advertisement-free YouTube content viable, a link to my Patreon account is on screen now, as are links to my previous video and to BigRedBarrel.com for those of you who like games, comics, movies and all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.